Welcome back to the broadcast. This is the final day of your Next Move Grand Chess Tour. Still 7 more rounds to go to determine who will be the winner. Magnus Carlsen seems to be the favorite with a 2-point lead ahead of Levon Aronian and Wesley So.
Yeah, Magnus Carlsen facing his, we can almost say, old rival Vishy Anand. In this round they've played 2 World Championship matches against each other, so the players of course very familiar. There's more storylines around these two. Vishy Anand used to be coached by Peter Heine Nielsen for many years, but then Peter Heine Nielsen decided to exchange him for a younger model and started working for Magnus Carlsen. Therefore Magnus, of course, quite well informed about Vishy's approach to the game. Then again, Vishy has been lethal recently with the white pieces, playing e4, knight f3, bishop c4, d3, c3, playing it quietly, taking it from there and grinding out many a win. We shall see if he can accomplish that against arguably still the strongest Blitz player on the planet, even though in the live rating list starting the day he fell behind Ding Liren, whom he might have overtaken with his win in the last round though. And while there in the background we see the other man who is a contender for that title, Hikaru Nakamura, not his event so far, scored 5 out of 9 in the Blitz yesterday, but that did not compensate for his pretty bad showing in the Rapid. Therefore he's out of contention in this event.
We shall see the rest of the players arriving at their boards. This is Vladimir Kramnik once again with his round routine of cleaning his glasses. Who else can we see? It seems like the players are still having a snack. They are enjoying their break and now they start entering this beautiful building, the Town Hall of Leuven.
I believe they had a photo shoot at some point today. Maybe they decided to sneak in a little shooting there between the rounds, since all the players coming back together makes it very likely that they had some official obligation. I don't think they all hang out between the rounds.
It might be the reason.
MVL didn't tuck his shirt in though. That implies there might not have been a photo shoot. We will never know. Levon Aronian having a good event so far, has to badly win his game against Vladimir Kramnik though, in order to at least stay in striking distance to Magnus Carlsen. Magnus Carlsen 2 points ahead at this point, and of course with 7 rounds left that makes him an overwhelming favorite to win this event.
See the photographers in action. Our photographer Lennart Oates bringing us those beautiful pictures from Paris, from Leuven. And the clocks are being started by the arbiter.
Yep. Magnus closely following the opening moves of Topalov. MVL doesn't look that spectacular yet. c4, e5.
And then g6.
Probably a3 Topalov has been, or d3. Topalov has been experimenting with some very slow second moves. And very slow first move here. 1 e4 by Viswanathan Anand against Magnus Carlsen. Bishop c4, that's the spirit. No more Berlins. Vishy really found something he liked in this Gioco Piano. And yeah, we've seen many different variations here. Castles followed by d5, d6 followed by a6, d6 followed by castles, you name it. It has been played in this event.
Magnus
goes for the main line. d6 and a6, a4, the move that rejuvenated the Italian, this plan with a4, knight a3, executed by Vishy Anand, and it's met with the knight e7 followed by knight g6 maneuver. First, or not first, but on top level the first time I've seen it was by Anish Giri in the candidates tournament against Vishy. Vishy went bishop g5 in that game, but got less than nothing after c6, so I'm expecting him to deviate from that, and he does. He goes knight to c2. Sticking with the typical plan for these positions, go bishop e3, exchange those bishops, and slowly prepare d4, and hope to gain a tiny advantage because of your slightly more active pieces and your extra space on the queen side. There's bishop e3, takes, knight g4 has been the topic of conversation between those two in a very similar position, with colors reversed in the Rapid, where Magnus managed to gain that tiny edge against Vishy. But Magnus plays differently. He goes a6, a5, very interesting move long term, fixing the pawn structure here so he can't get cramped by playing a5, which is something he managed to do himself against Vishy. I expect Vichy to go h3. Oh, he doesn't. He goes rook e1. I thought he was going to try to stop knight g4, but probably it's not that big a deal in this situation.
Seems like he's not afraid of that. He just goes with the normal developing move, and we shall see if Magnus Carlsen goes for knight g4.
Yeah, another typical move would be to just play knight g6, so first c6, maintain the structure. In general, if black can exchange an extra pair of minor pieces, he should try to do that. So knight g4 would still be high on my list of candidates. Let's see if the world champion agrees. Thinking for a bit here. What is he thinking about? Bishop g4 looks unlikely, giving up that bishop. When he goes with knight g6, does not like my knight g4 move. And yeah, this is very typical. Black gets his knight from c6 to g6, where not only can it jump into f4, it also helps him to fight for the center by going for c6 and d5 should he need it. To my mind, these positions always looked very equal, but the world's best players with white have managed to create some small problems here and there for each other. Therefore, this line is going to be around for a while. What has Vichy done? h3 is a move?
No, I think the pawn is still on h2, so it's a mystery what he has just played.
He's played bishop b3. This is also a typical idea. He tries to transfer this bishop to c2 to support the d3, d4 advance, because you need to cover the e4 pawn before entering such adventures. Magnus once again faces the decision if he wants to go bishop e6, another structure we've seen plenty, and allow the doubling of his pawns, or if he wants to do something else. I don't know, h6 is always a typical move. Knight g4 seems less attractive now that it can be met with, for example, knight f5, so I believe that ship has sailed. Bishop he's played c6. Fair enough, hinting at d5, maybe after bishop c2. He doesn't want to wait for white to play d4, or go d5 himself, but Vichy's not impressed, goes bishop c2 anyway. When d5 could really change the situation in the center. It's quite typical to counter d5, even with a direct d4. But here it looks like black is ready for that after e takes d4. I can't spot any particular trouble. Curious to see if Magnus is going to go for d5 or if he will maintain the structure.
I see many of the fans on Chess24 are rooting for Vichy, and they believe that he can stop Magnus Carlsen. On the other hand, of course, the world champion has plenty of fans as well. So once again, we see that our Chess24 community is very divided by who their favorite players are.
Looks like Magnus having a bit of a bad hair day there. What's going on?
It's too early, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think he's known as an early bird. And as mentioned, there were lots of sports events last night, which he likes to follow closely. So,
by the way, what happened in the basketball?
It's a sad story. That's the reason
you
I'm
better
wearing
not ask then.
black tie.
Oh,
It's been a bad
I'm
night.
sorry.
Wrong team won. Then a favorite character got killed on Game of Thrones. Like,
Oh,
I'm not sure how this day can get any worse. Maybe losing to Lawrence Trent in Blitz or something.
let's just change topic and see something brighter. Bishop e6 on the board and rook a d8, some new moves.
Yeah, Magnus decided against his d5. He allowed Vichy to go d4 and tried to just maintain the structure. Anand quickly took on e5 and went g3. Once again trying to exploit his slightly better placed minor pieces. In this case, the knight on e3 is better than the knight on g6 because the knight on g6 is severely restricted by the pawn on g3. It's never much in these positions, and it doesn't look like a position where Magnus Carlsen could get in trouble. But you work with what you've got on the board, and Vichy is trying to put a bit of pressure here. Just went b4.
Knight f8, where is this knight heading? Going back to the queen side, or he wants to go some knight h7, knight g5?
Yeah, both possible. Anywhere but g6, where there's really nothing to do for it anymore. Maybe these bishops get exchanged, and the knight can go to e6, restoring the symmetry. But I'm not sure if knight h7 I doubt, because then after h4 it would have to go back hunting for squares. What has Vichy done? Knight c4.
c4, but some exchanges happened there. What has been exchanged, and then bishop g4.
Magnus took on
Knight
b4 and
takes.
went bishop g4. His idea is to fight for the d4 square. He wants to go knight e6, followed by knight d4. And I like this idea. I believe something's gone wrong for Vichy. And yeah, you can see he doesn't look all that pleased with himself.
He exchanges rooks.
Yeah, he's trying to now neutralize black's initiative, but he must have underestimated this bishop g4 move or missed it, because now black can just go bishop takes f3, followed by knight e6 and knight d4, when he would have a good knight against a slightly passive white bishop. So once again, Magnus Carlsen making it look easy, these positions. And we see this knight has found a very nice destination. Rook takes d8, queen takes d8.
Rook d1, just trying to get the d file, and after the queen moves and rook d8, I guess he just hopes that the pieces get exchanged and there will be no trouble, but we started to like black's position more.
Yeah, maybe he wants to jump queen c7, knight d6, but then just rook d8 doesn't seem to really lead anywhere. Magnus went to e7, targeting the b4 pawn along the way.
b1.
Rook b1 here to defend it, but now the position might slowly be getting critical. You can already start calculating. I guess knight e6 doesn't work yet because of knight takes e5, but you certainly have to wonder about it.
And he did play it. After 2 seconds of thinking, knight e6 is on the board.
Yeah, this. How do you win material here? Feels like something should drop, but I can't see it.
It does feel like, but Vishy doesn't believe it. He captures the pawn, knight d4, queen d3, and we shall see what is the trick.
Maybe there is no trick. You can always simplify, win your pawn back. Bishop f3, knight f3, knight c2, for example. But I'm surprised that Carlsen went in for this so willingly. It looked like his position was already asking for more than just equality.
Maybe he thought he had something here and now he's disappointed.
Yeah, not quite sure what he missed. Or what I'm missing. Maybe rook d8, some move like that. So it doesn't feel crushing. Just knight takes g4 and there's no favorable knight move. No, it seems like Vishy managed to escape here, because had he allowed the knight to d4 with the black pawn still on e5, it would have been a very unpleasant positional grind. While now, if there's nothing direct in the position they have on the board, then the game should just end peacefully. Carlsen's calculating, but he can't think forever. He only has 1 minute, 20 seconds left.
Vishy seems to be very relaxed. He has calculated everything under control. But Magnus Carlsen must have missed something, because this isn't what he wanted.
Bit of a stare down there by Vishy, giving him the look. What are you doing? d3, knight f3, knight f3.
Queen takes e4.
Queen e4, simplifying to an equalish endgame. Queen e4, knight e4, and any move, knight d4. Actually, not any move, but probably knight d4. King g2 would run into bishop f3.
Rook b3.
Oh, rook b3, interesting.
Knight f6, so that the rook could enter the second rank, rook e2.
Yeah, but it is an equal position now. You have to handle with a bit of care as white. I believe white's pawns are a little more vulnerable, but I'd be shocked if, not shocked, but surprised if this ended anything but peacefully. King g2 by Vishy. Bishop e6, Magnus trying to pose new problems by transferring his bishop to d5. Vishy's considering rook e3 here if he's in time to break free of this pin. And he decides, nah, not worth the trouble. I keep my rook on the board to cover this guy. Bishop d5, probably king f1. Here, Magnus, as usual, trying to make something out of very little. King f1 on the board.
As you said.
Knight g4. Asking some small questions, like...
But now he can take on f3 and there's knight h2.
She lost a pawn.
Oh. But this isn't just a simple pawn down.
Seems like it. He's relentless, Carlson. Always manages to come up with small tricks.
h3 was a blunder. Can we just go back quickly to that moment in case somebody did not understand it so quickly? h3 attacking the knight, but bishop takes f3, and in case of rook takes, it's knight h2 fork.
Indeed.
So Vishy Anand has blundered the pawn, and now Magnus Carlsen can try to win this position, which seemed to be just a draw before.
Yeah, Magnus inviting the exchange of rooks seems to be confident this position can be won, because the pawn on b5 is also a target. If the black king makes it all the way here, this pawn would drop, And it's going to be hard for the white king to centralize because it also has to keep an eye on a potential passed h-pawn. Seems like very good chances for Magnus to convert this.
Yeah. At the same time, the battle between the two Americans have finished. Nakamura beat Fabiano Caruana. Is that
Vishy
Anand
resigns, yeah.
resigning?
Yeah,
So early? I thought he would
there's
fight a
no
bit
hope
more.
left. The king just comes after
Wow,
the b5
Magnus
pawn.
Carlsen wins again, so he jumps up to 18.5 out of, no, how is that? Not 18.5, it's already 19.5 out of 30. We shall see the standings later, but let's just see the game that's still going on between Aronian and Kramnik.
Another Kramnik rook endgame. This time he's missing a bunch of pawns though, so not his vintage grind, but instead a pretty tough defense against Levon Aronian, who just pushed e6, trying to queen his e-pawn. And as far as I can tell, this looks lost for black.
It does look hopeless, but maybe we missed something. King
Maybe
takes
Levon missed something.
F4.
HG, E7, there's rook H8, which I missed too. And now the position is a draw. Levon messed it
Draw.
up.
Was there a way to win it, or it was already drawn?
I'm not sure.
After
I know
H4.
Vladimir Kramnik, but it feels like there should be something. But it's not so easy. Rook B4 I was going to say, but then King D3 threatening checkmate. So it could be that there is already a big drawing margin here. I don't know, but Kramnik knows his rook endgame stuff. Managed to keep that one under control versus Levon. Let's briefly see what happened to Fabiano Caruana. Piece down here. Where did he lose that piece?
Oh, this is already not looking nice, and after b4, g3, f4 just expanding all the time. Black's pieces are very passive, and now what can you do against queen c7? He had to go rook c8, which is not a nice move, and after rook e7, this is just a piece up.
Yeah, looks like he got outplayed by Hikaru. Anish Giri made another draw against Wesley So, but just by drawing his games, Anish Giri is not going to get back to 50%. He needs a big plus score today. So yeah, not his event. And
Yeah, so Magnus Carlsen on 19.5, already 2.5 points ahead of Levon Aronian and Wesley. So there are still 6 games to go, so anything could happen, but if he keeps playing on the level he usually plays, this seems to be an easy victory for Magnus Carlsen here in Leuven.
yeah, the rest of the field is going to have to start focusing on second and third place. There are grand chess tour points at stake apart from the prize money. Magnus Carlsen is not going to play in all the events. He's not going to play in the St. Louis tournament, as far as I know. And therefore, for the overall rankings, people might, for once, finish ahead of him.
How is it at the bottom of the standings? Is it that Anish Giri, Anish Giri is still at the very bottom, but joined by Veselin Topalov, who has now drawn his game against Maxime Vachier, but it doesn't help either. 12.5 for both players. Hikaru Nakamura and Fabiano Caruana on 13.5. Also not a good result for the Americans. The only American that is doing fine is Wesley So, although he used to do better. He used to be just clear second and even close to being first. So anything can happen for So. We will see how he can do in the rest of the games. Let's see the pairings. Wesley So against Vishy Anand, Anish Giri against Hikaru Nakamura, Fabiano Caruana facing Levon Aronian, Kramnik against Topalov, the no handshake game, and Vachier Carlsen.
Yeah, tough decision if we should follow Kramnik Topalov or stick with Magnus Carlsen. We're going to have a brief thinking break to determine which game we're going with. Let us know which one you want to see. We'll be back in a couple minutes to cover round number, whatever it is, 31. No, it's not round number 31 because they only played 27 games total. So
yeah, 9 rounds of rapid, 18 of blitz. We cannot count, can we? Yeah, round something.
see you soon.